Professor Kithure Kindiki, who will now run the program as from here. Welcome, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki.
Like to hear the tribute of our departed leader, the Honorable Raila Odinga. That tribute, the eulogy, will be read by Jaoko Oburu.
I am honored, Baba, to read your eulogy. May the Lord give me peace and give peace that transcends all understanding to us, your orphans. Raila Odinga is truly a once-in-a-generation leader, a man whose ideals transcended politics and whose legacy will shape Kenya's destiny for generations to come. President William Ruto announced the demise of former Premier on 15th October 2025. On the 15th October 2025, the mortal journey of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga came to an end. But his spirit is immortalized in the story of a life that began on the 7th of January 1945. For 80 years, he embodied resilience, boundless optimism, a will to test limits, ventured into new frontiers and imagined new horizons, all in a steadfast love for country. He was a leader who never wavered in his belief in the good of his people. Raila Odinga lived a life of purpose. He chose to fly high, urged the nation to dare, and challenged Africa to fight for its place in the world and retrace the dreams of the continent's founders. Over the past 3 years, we have witnessed an outpouring of emotions of a nation gripped in grief. Africa has grieved for him. Indeed, the world has grieved for him. Our nation and the world struggling with the question, did we really know him in his fighting to find hope in his enduring legacy? Raila Odinga may not have been there to fight the country's war for independence, but he bows out as an undisputed leader of the national rebirth of the Kenyan nation. He easily became the bridge between our generation and that of our grandfather, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who fought for our country's independence from colonialism. He learned at the feet of Kenyans and Africa's most revered leaders. He witnessed the liberation ideals and struggles of Pan-African heroes, including our grandfather Jaramogi, Jomo Kenyatta, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and Kenneth Kaunda, among others. He followed and internalized Nelson Mandela's struggles and agreed with his philosophy that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. That the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Raila conquered fear and mastered courage. Possibility of death in pursuit of an ideal was not a reason for Raila to retreat, for he also internalized William Shakespeare's words that cowards may die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. It is from that perch that Raila began his own long walk for freedom and liberation, applying himself to the cause as a debt owed to past and due to the present generations. Many times he appeared to be on a cause much larger than himself, a mission almost impossible. But he seemed to be the way he loved it. He gave his life for it. In emulating the giant steps of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, our grandfather, and the spirit of selflessness that ran deep in his heritage, Raila Odinga, just as his father once declared that he could be no freedom for the release, without the release of their leader Jomo Kenyatta, proclaimed Kibaki Tosha, a declaration that propelled NARC to bring an end to KANU's 40-year rule. This defining act was emblematic of the man himself. Raila Odinga was Raila Odinga. He never cared what others thought about him or his actions. He cared whether people bought into his vision and mission. Once he felt he had the mandate of the people, there will be no turning back. In the process, he became Kenya's ultimate political prisoner and one of Africa's best-known freedom fighters, a dedicated and down-to-earth servant of the people of Kenya, a headache to the corrupt elite, and a beacon of hope for those struggling for freedom, not only in Kenya, but across Africa and beyond. Generations to come will honor him and offer gratitude. Raila Odinga cared deeply about Africa and worried eternally about its decline. For that, he applied himself to peace and reconciliation missions across the continent whenever called upon. During the 90s, he worked closely with the International Republican Institute as a resource person for peace and conflict resolution in the then war-torn countries of Mozambique and Burundi, and offered similar support to peaceful electoral processes in Nigeria and Zimbabwe. He mastered Africa's conflicts and the forces and issues behind them. The highest executive position he ever rose to was that of Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, following the signing of a National Accord and Reconciliation Act 2008, which created the office to facilitate power sharing after the controversial 2007 elections. Earlier, he had served as Member of Parliament for Lang'ata constituency within the city of Nairobi from 1992. However, the hallmark of Raila's life and career was not in executive mansions and offices. It was in the struggle for freedom and democracy in Kenya and across Africa, many times telling the continent's dictators to set their people free. It earned him outright enemies, cynical friends, and admirers in Africa and beyond. It is this record that saw him appointed Special Peace Envoy of the African Union in February 2011, following the post-election crisis in Cote d'Ivoire. He juggled politics, entrepreneurship, scholarship with ease. Besides his career in politics, Mr. Odinga is also a successful businessman and entrepreneur, having founded the flagship family business, East Africa Spectre, a manufacturer of gas cylinders for Kenya and the East African region. Subsequently, he founded Spectre International, also known as popularly known as the Molasses Plant. Before that, he had taught at the University of Nairobi's Department of Mechanical Engineering between 1970 and 1974, and served at the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which he was instrumental in establishing. Even as he pursued all these careers, Raila understood that social, political, and economic changes in a country came through politics, and that although all politics is local, politics is also substantially international. So even as he appeared to be rabble-rousing in the trenches of Kibra and Kondele, he understood that an hour comes when he needed to dust himself off and sit in boardrooms or take a plane to global capitals to negotiate politics and policies. He did that effortlessly, moving from dusty Kamkunji grounds to a meeting in diplomatic circuits of the country within the hour. It was normal for Raila to be tear-gassed, water-hosed, and even shot at, only for him to show up at the boardroom for meetings with his tormentors as if torture at the field did not happen. He understood the place of man-to-man negotiations in the quest to influence policy and power. Raila disagreed fundamentally with many politicians about the state of the Kenyan nation and how to transform it. But those disagreements never stopped him from sitting down with those he disagreed with or sympathizing with the views of fellow politicians. Raila believed in political parties as vehicles for advancing democracy and good governance. It is upon this belief that he was founder member of the Forum for Restoration of Democracy, FORD, later FORD Kenya in 1991, the National Democratic Party, NDP, in 1996, and the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, in 1997. And in 2005, his present political vehicle, the Orange Democratic Party of Kenya, ODM. In 2013, he led his party into coalition with other parties to form the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy Code, on whose ticket he ran for president. He challenged the election results at the Supreme Court, which ruled in favor of his opponent. He accepted the verdict and took up the leadership of the opposition. He contested the 2017 presidential election on the ticket of the National Super Alliance, NASA, which election ended up being nullified by the Supreme Court, but he stayed out of the subsequent contest. Mr. Odinga was again picked by his coalition, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, for the presidency in 2022, whose results were confirmed against him by the Supreme Court. He accepted the verdict and has led the opposition coalition. Raila's early life prepared him to be a consummate African and citizen of the world, with early education in Kisumu and Siaya before leaving for Germany, where he began his high school education at the Herder Institute of Leipzig. He later transitioned to the Otto von Gutenberg University in Magdeburg, in the then East Germany, where he obtained a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, specializing in production technology. In February 2024, Raila visited and extensively toured the two institutions, reliving his days there and recalling that when he arrived in Otto von Gutenberg, there was not more than 5 black students in the whole college. As a leader, Raila believed in and exercised unity, selflessness, sacrifice, collective leadership, humility, honesty, discipline, and hard work. Other than Kenya, Raila's other greater love was Africa. He celebrated the continent's potential and mourned its poverty. He mourned the death of leadership on the continent and felt the pain of its people being left behind by less endowed regions of the world because of failure of leadership. Indeed, the last major political project Raila quietly embarked on just days before his death was a third biography dedicated purely to Pan-Africanism and what needs to be done to take the continent forward. In October 2018, Raila was appointed as the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa. He moved into the position with the swiftness and certainty of fish in water. He named the continental highway networks corridors railways and airports as if they were in Kenya. He was at ease with Africa's trade deficit figures in comparison to other parts of the world. In politics, Raila communicated the importance of reconciliation, forgiveness, and putting country over self. He forgave his jailers and worked with them to move the country forward. He emphasized that building a progressive country demanded leaders rise above anger and desire for revenge. He also believed strongly that preservation of a nation requires the triumph of pragmatism over ideology, that when the nation is under extreme threat, leaders must embrace extreme compromise. He believed power was not an end, but a means to an end. It should be used towards the desired end. He believed that power should be used to ensure the existence of the nation, not the demise of the nation. He wanted power to be used to ensure progress, prosperity, and peace of and among nations, and not for any causes that would yield contrary outcomes. We will cherish Raila's memory in the heart of our nation, and I believe in the hearts of many African nations. Fare thee well, our champion, our freedom fighter, our Baba. You have fought the long fight. You have finished the odious race. You have kept the unshakable faith. Your work here is done. The struggle continues. Rest in peace and rest in perfect and eternal peace. Thank you, Baba. Long live the King!
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going now to receive the following family members to eulogize their father, Winnie Odinga, Raila Odinga Jr., Rosemary Odinga, and later on, Mama Ida, and Mzee Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga will close that chapter on the family tributes. Karibuni.
Hello? 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 Mimi leo sina mengi ya kusema. Niko hapa na watoto wangu. Huyu ni mtoto wangu wa kwanza, anaitwa Safi. Na huyu ni wangu wa pili, anaitwa Senai. Niko na mandugu zangu huko nyuma, Junior na Winnie, na my cousins pia wako hapa. Leo ni siku wa uchungu mwingi sana kwangu mimi. Najua nyinyi pia mnasikia uchungu mwingi sana. Kwa sababu hata baba alikuwa baba wetu, alikuwa baba zetu sote. Naomba niseme machache kwa Kiingereza tafadhali. Ladies and gentlemen, of course all protocols observed. I'm a bit today I'm feeling very, very sad. I did not anticipate to speak today, and there's so much I can say about Baba, but at the same time, we don't have enough time for me to say it all. To me, he was my advisor, He was a friend. He was also someone who understood me very well and my children and my siblings. I remember the day I received the message. I was seated on the table, just finished my breakfast. And then my brother Junior called me. And he asked me where I was. And I told him, nimekaa kwa meza, I'm seated at the table. And then he asked me to sit down. And I asked myself, now do I sit on the floor, or sitting on the table or the seat at the table is good enough? I was so confused. But then Junior then told me that our father was no longer with us. Until today, it is still very difficult. Ni uchungu mwingi sana ambao tunahisi kama familia. Na leo hii tunakuja na nyinyi pia, ndio tuombeleze na nyinyi pia, Kenya mzima na dunia nzima. Nataka tu kusema asanteni sana kwa kusimama na sisi, na tutaendelea kusimama pamoja, na Mungu abariki Kenya mzima na abariki dunia mzima. And thank you all. Asanteni sana. Mungu atupe nguvu. Mama, Mungu akupe nguvu. Thank you so much. Sina mengi ya kusema.
Sawa. Haya. Haya. Okay. Tulia, wacha nisome. A tribute from Raila Jr. Odinga. My beloved mom, my sister Rosie and Winnie, my extended family, excellencies, distinguished guests, my fellow Kenyans, since I learned of my dad's demise, I have organized over how to best mourn him. My father was many things to me, to many people, but to my siblings and I, he was simply Dad. Dad embodied resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of freedom and justice. He always stood for what he believed was right, sometimes at great family cost and personal cost as well. He was my hero. And his legacy lives in me, in my siblings, and in all those whose lives he touched. I am my father's son. And that is why I will continue to fight for values he believed in: justice, fairness, and service to others. I am very alive to the fact that my brother Fidel is gone. I remain the gentleman of the family. Dad, I want you to assure you that I will take care of our family, Mom, Rosie, Winnie, and your larger political family too. Erokamano.
Aya, hii sehemu, the refrain is Asante Baba. Nikiinua flyweight, mnasema Asante Baba. Tujaribu mara ya kwanza. Asante Baba. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for giving me your name and for never heaping the weight of it on me. Asante Baba. Thank you for the beautiful childhood that through the challenging times. Asante Baba. Thank you for believing in me, encouraging me to speak up and to try new things, for always hearing me out. Thank you for standing by me even when I fell short or outright failed, and for always showing me grace. Thank you for your wisdom, your guidance, and your unwavering love, not just for me, but our entire family. Mama, Fidel, Rosie, Winnie, Yvonne, Lion Amolo Odinga, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Thank you for grounding me in ways more of our people and encouraging me to be a man. I will deeply miss our family moments, our laughter, our conversation. I will miss watching Arsenali with you. I miss make Arsenali. Wacha nimalize. I thank God for you and for everything you have meant to me. You have run your race with honor, and may grace now lead you home. May the ancestors receive you and rest well. Nindikwe, Baba Aheri, Asante Baba, Asante Baba, Asante Baba, Joey, Joey, Joey. Wacha nimkaribishe dadangu Honorable Winnie Odinga. Karibu Winnie.
Hey. To fellow mourners and all protocols observed, I don't know who I'll miss more, my dad or my superhero. I've been the luckiest girl in the world because you are my dad. Only 3 other human beings were as lucky as me: Fidel, Rosie, and Junior. Dad, you are light, steady, unyielding, and deeply human. To the world, you are known by many names. When you were growing up, they used to call you Aluo. And then when you started work, they started calling you Jaramogi's son. And at some point, they started to call you Tinga. At another point, they started to call you Aguambo. Briefly there, they called you Nyundo. They called you Jacom. They called you Baba Fidel. But in the end, they called you Baba. To me, you were simply Dad. A man whose presence froze rooms around the world. Our home was the Vitendawili testing ground, filled with trivia, quizzes that challenged the four of us, in a good way sometimes. When I learned that you willed to be buried in 72 hours, I laughed. Good old Dad. Testing and planning for all of us, even beyond the grave. I can see you now laughing in your heaving manner. I can see you laughing at all of us, knowing that your wish will be done. To my fellow mourners, I learned from him that love for country is not just in words, but in sacrifice. That justice must be pursued even when the path is lonely. The true leadership is service and not power. Millions of you are in despair, but take heart, because he left a plan for you too. He led all of us, he taught us, he carried us. We know what he expects from us, and we shall rise together in his honor. I watched him at his best. I watched him fall and rise again, each time with grace, forgiveness, and hope. At home, he was gentle and humorous. He loved storytelling, music. I think you know the favorite song. Down the bay, the mountain top, where the sun shines on a mountain top. I took a trip on a sailing ship, and when I reached India, I made a stop. But I'm sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my world is turning around. I had to leave a little girl in Bondo town. Dad loved his grandchildren. Safi, Fidel's son Alai, Junior's son Lion, Sanai, and Jaramogi. He loved you with all his heart. Even in the busiest moments of national duty, he would send me to check on all of you. I now know it was to remind us to stay grounded, for me to teach you how to dream boldly, and to always stand firm for what is right. Today, as we celebrate his life, I choose to remember not only the leader the world knew, but the father I loved with every fiber of my being. The biggest part of me died on the 15th of October, 2025. But the spirit of the lion roars on forever. Fellow mourners, I was with him in India when he took his last breath. He died in my arms. But he did not die like people have been saying on social media. Every day he was waking up and walking. And every day he would do 1 round. The next day he would push 2 rounds. That morning he pushed to 5 rounds. He died strong, when with dignity and with pride. And you must be proud of that. You all must also walk with your heads held high and walk strong and proud that he left as a gentleman. As a family, we want to thank all of you, from Turkana to Lamu, from Isiolo, Mandera, to the shores of Lake Victoria, asanteni sana. The king is dead, but long live the crown. Joey! 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 Rest in peace, Dad. Asante.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, and our First Lady, Mama Rachel, and all protocols observed. I have a very heavy heart to say farewell to my dear brother. Raila was more than a brother to me. He was my friend. He was my age mate. He was my advisor, and he was my confidant, and he was everything, including business partnership. We grew up together more or less as twins, because the difference between me and my brother is only 1 year and 2 months. And unfortunately, my brother passed on my birthday, which is 15th October 1943. When we were growing together with my brother, we were in Bondo in Sakwa, though we were born in Maseno. But during that time, we were only 3 boys, and our mother was a disciplinarian more than our father. But my brother Raila knew how to cook. Our mother told us that you, my boys, you are also my girls. You must learn to fetch firewood. You must learn to cook. You must learn to prepare everything, including washing clothes and ironing and so on. Raila was best at all those things. The other thing Raila was best at was in class. Me, I was average. I could be number 5, number 4, number 3 sometimes if I did well. But Raila was always number 1. He was always number 1 in class. And I also want to tell you that Raila was a sportsman. He was a sportsman. He used to do what we were calling triple jump. He used to play football, and he used to do pole vault. But I was better than him in jumping and in pole vault. I want to tell you that my brother loved justice from the beginning. He loved to hear news. And one day he was late in school, and when the teacher asked him what he was doing, he said he was still listening to the radio. He wanted to hear news. And he was only at standard 3, standard 4. So Raila was a no-nonsense man. He entertained no mediocrity. Raila did not want mediocrity. if you came across him with lies or something mediocre, his left hand was very fast. He could give you something to teach you a lesson that you must always be truthful. He protected me and my brother, the later Gola, because he was more brave in confronting anybody who attacked us. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you the intention today. My intention is to tell you that even though my brother was almost the same age as me, but younger than me, I can tell you that I respected him as my leader in the political arena. And I want to thank my party, ODM, for making me the acting party leader of ODM, the oldest and the largest party in East and Central Africa. I will take that mantle with vigor, and I must assure you, my colleagues, that I will not disappoint. Even though the shoes of Raila are too big to be filled. But I just want to try my best. I want to try my best. And now I would like to inform you that I'm also with my wife. My wives, I am a general. I have two of them. If I don't introduce them to you, they might feel jealous and refuse to give me food. There's my elder wife, Dr. Ann Ayo Oburu, is here. And come. This is the lady who took me out of boyhood. She is a doctor. She is a pediatrician, and she is the one with whom we grew together. But I thought that now, at my age, I don't want her to scratch me. I don't want her to massage me. So I brought her helper, Judith Oburu. Judith Oburu. Judith Oburu here works with NSSF, and she is also an accountant by profession. So thank you very much. Your Excellencies, we have come here to mourn. Tomorrow we are moving home, and we shall talk to you again when you come to Bondo. And I thank you all for listening to me and giving me this opportunity to listen to you. But please, keep the spirit of Raila burning. We are going to keep the spirit of Raila burning. You can see Raila has siblings. You can see Junior has spoken here very well. You can see Winnie is there burning. You can see Rosemary is there burning. And you can see their mother, Ida, is here. Ida, please keep the family together and make sure that the fire of Raila keeps burning forever and forever more. Thank you for listening to me. Oh, let me leave on. Asante, my brother, rest in peace. My brother, rest in peace. Greet for us, my dad, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Greet for us, our mama. Greet for us, our mama, our mother, Mama Mary Oginga. Greet for us, our father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Greet for us, all our brothers, Agola, Osewe, and Odimba, who left before us. And greet for us, all of them. And I'm sure God the Almighty is going to welcome you with his hands there, because you were magnanimous, you loved God, and you loved people. That is what God also expected of you, and you have done your best. Rest, my brother. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, my brother. Thank you.
Hello? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, and Her Excellency Lady Rachel Ruto, the former President, President Uhuru Kenyatta, the visiting President, past and present, the Deputy Presidents, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and watu wetu wa Kenya kwa jumla, hamjambo. Today is a very unique day. It is not every day that I would be standing here to say something to the nation and to the world about my dear husband, Raila Amolo Odinga. For those who don't know me, I've got a very long name. They call me Canon Dr. Ida Betty Odinga EST. Now, these names don't just come like that, but they are names that are given. I cannot forget the name that the public has given me, called Min Pin. That name is a very heavy name because it is a name that puts a lot of responsibility to the owner of that name. I'm also gotten the name of Peace Ambassador. And for that reason, even before I say something else, I'd like to say something about peace. One thing that I know that Raila stood for, and he keep on repeating, is that we need peace in our nation, we need peace in our homes. And peace will not survive in a situation, in a chaotic situation. For that reason, I appeal, today I appeal, let us mourn Raila in peace. I know you are all concerned. I know you are all mourning. You are sad about this, but let's keep peace so that the peace can prevail, not only here in the stadium, but also in the rest of the country. Coming to talk about my dear husband, Raila Amolo Odinga. I first met Raila way back in the early 70s, and we got married in 1973. For that reason, I've lived with this man for 52 years. Many of the people that I see or who are in this stadium could have easily be our children. No wonder you call him Baba. That name did not come from nowhere, but came from the experience and the life that he has lived with and relationship that he has had with some of these people. During our union, we were blessed by 4 children. First, we had the first child was called Fidel Castro Odhiambo Odinga. When Fidel was born, I was a bit hesitant the way he gives the name. I say, why do you call him Fidel? Then he said he was a great admirer of Fidel Castro, and therefore he named his first child Fidel Castro Odinga. Later, we had the second child, Rosemary, and here again, Rose is the name of my mother, and Mary is the name of his mother. We combined the 2 names together, and we call the child Rosemary. It also has a meaning to us. When it came to the third one, and he named after his best friend and his cousin called Raila Kembo, with whom they shared the name. So we ended up with Raila Odinga Odinga. Last, there was a big gap, and I'll explain to you. Last came the 4th child. The 4th child, when I went to the hospital, and you know those mothers, well, you know, you end up somewhere in labor ward. And I was watching the television. And on the television, that's the time when Nelson Mandela had come out of prison. It was he's been there for 27 years. Raila also had been in prison, but that's not why we named her Winnie. And I was watching the television, I could see Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela holding hands as Mandela walked out of the gates of the prison. By then, I didn't know what kind of child I was going to get. But then I said, if it's a boy, we'll name him Wilson Mandela. But if it's a girl, will be Winnie Mandela. And therefore, Winnie Mandela arrived. And that's the 4th child. I see when you look at this naming of the children, I know these days you can name your child anything that you want, but I'll appeal to those who are still having babies. Give your child a meaningful name, because you name them people you never saw, you never heard of, simply because it saw the name written somewhere. There's nothing wrong with giving our children
the names of the people who in our lives we think are the heroes. Our life was not smooth life. Just like any other family, there's been ups and downs. But as we continue living together, we've learned how to cope because we all have weaknesses and strengths. We learned to talk straight to one another. We learned to speak the truth, and we learned to forgive and move on. Now, that forgiving spirit was not only in the home, but is something that has spread to the Kenyan. You've seen how many times he has tried in the elections, but that forgiveness is paramount. So please don't carry grudges from one generation to another and from one group to another. We are all Kenyans. We are all Kenyans. We are sisters and brothers. We must learn to forgive easily and build together Kenya. Towards the end, I'll not say everything. I would like to say everything, but time would not allow. And a span of 52 years is not a short time. I hope that when I get another opportunity on Sunday, I'll be able to say more. But one thing that he kept on repeating to me is that we must urge Kenyans to live in peace. He kept on repeating that. We must repeat it to our Kenyans. We live in peace. Raila hated dishonesty. He hated dishonesty. He hated greed. The greed that have affected the main fabric of our society. The greed that leads to stealing from the public coffers. The greed that leads to corruptions. That's the kind of thing that Raila would not have liked to see. So, you people, you Kenyans, I'll tell you more. But I thank you, those who have come and those who are watching us from other places. I thank you for standing with this family. I thank you for being here for us. And I thank you for helping us to mourn Raila. May his soul lie in eternal peace. And for the people of Kenya, I wish you well, thank you, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Fellow mourners, we are moving towards the end of this occasion, the first part, so that we can allow a second part that is going to take place in the afternoon. On behalf of Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga, who has been the co-chair of the National State Funeral Committee for the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, I want to thank the people of Kenya and the people of the world for mourning our departed leader with dignity. I would like to just clarify that Senator Odinga has spoken in two capacities. First, as a member of the family, and secondly, as the interim acting party leader of ODM. Your Excellency, fellow mourners, we recognize there's so many mourners who have come to mourn today, and we respect all of them and thank them for making time. Allow me, Your Excellency, to do two things, and then we will conclude. The first is to acknowledge that the leader that we have lost in our country was not just a leader in Kenya. He was a regional leader, he was a continental leader, and he was a global leader. And that is why you see the kind of dignitaries that are present here, whom we recognize for their presence. But we have also received formal condolences from global leaders from around the world. Allow me, mourners, to acknowledge those condolences from heads of state and government of foreign nations. We have the condolences of the President of Tanzania,